And good evening. This is Exploring WordPress with Alan and Trevor. And tonight we are talking all about domains and hosting. Stay tuned. Yes, good evening. I love doing that at the start. Just have to get that little bing in the start. Good evening, guys. Welcome on in. This is Exploring WordPress with myself, Alan Hennessy from Compass Media, and the legend that is
Mr. Trevor Lawkins, the digital alchemist.
Yes, indeed. And tonight we are going to be talking all about domains and hosting. And this is probably a question that comes up very regularly, or people make the mistakes and then they come to us and they try and ask us to sort out the problems. And 9 times out of 10, it can be quite a daunting task, and sometimes you can't even do it. So we wanted to jump on here tonight and sort of, even though we are talking about WordPress, and it is, I suppose it's involved with website development and website design and stuff like that. So we're going to be talking tonight about domains, what they are, and hosting and what it is. And I suppose, can I use the word, Trevor? Best practices or
best practices? Yeah, I think so. Why not? Why not?
Sort of, yeah. I suppose we can. So before we start, how are you and how are you getting on this week?
I'm doing okay. Yeah, it's not too bad this week. Keeping busy. All a bit of and actually, funny enough, a bit of a busy WordPress week this week. So yeah, on topic.
Very good, very good, very good. So I suppose without further ado, I suppose we might as well get stuck into this. I think I know from personal experience and people coming when they come to work with me, or they come to they engage me in a project, as they like to say in some circles. They all say, oh yeah, I want a website, and then you explain to them, okay, well, you need a domain and you need some hosting, and they go, well, what is that? So I'll let you kick this off. So what is a domain?
Well, a domain really is we kind of take it for granted, but it's that kind of the www.compassmedia.ie or digitalalchemist.live. It's the name that you're known by that finds typically your website. And I know we spoke about WordPress.com in one of our early shows, where you can have a website on WordPress's website, and they will use what they call a subdomain. So you'd have compassmedia.wordpress.com, and that's a cheap fudge way of doing it. Lots of applications do it like that, but I think if we're talking about sort of in our business here, we want our own domain name, and this is where your problem starts. That people don't realize, when you buy a domain name, someone has to own it illegally. And I know a lot of people will come to me and they've got a website they've had done and they're trying to sort it out, and said, oh yeah, my brother's registered it for me, or my web designer just did it, or somebody I knew that did it. And you say to them, well, have you got the login for it? They go, no idea, I don't know. They don't think or don't know they own their domain name. They don't know who owns their domain name. And nowadays with GDPR and all this privacy, when you do a who is lookup online to find out who owns a name, you can't find out because of data privacy. So it's become harder to actually find out who owns a name if you don't know you own it yourself. And this happens so often, I can't tell you. I've been doing web design over 20 years now, and still, even just today, I've had a case of someone wants a website, wants me to redesign it for them, but they're like, well, I think I am a domain name, I'm not sure. I said, well, have you got any logins to anything, any hosted? Well, my designer did that for me, and if the alarm bells start ringing, I think, So I would say the best practice is, if you're going to buy a domain name, buy it yourself. Get it yourself. You pay for it, you have the account, and then it's yours. And whoever you use to host it, whoever you use to design it, whoever you use to do anything, now, today, tomorrow, 6 months, 6 years time, you still have control of that name.
Yeah.
Because, a website can grow and grow and grow to be a very big asset, And, I've had a website that turned over sort of 7 figures. That domain name has huge value to it. And if you didn't know who owned it and suddenly you want to move it and you go, oh, I don't know, you can have some big headaches. So buy your own name. That's the first tip of the day.
Yeah, and I think it's very important. And there's so many people out there. Like I've only, like, similar to yourself, I had the problem only very recently, where the guy, he had his website with someone else, and he decided that he wanted to move all his assets to one person and get Compass Media to do all of the work. So it's all encompassing digital. So I says, brilliant. Yeah, that's no problem. But the problem is he had to go, and he says, "Oh, your man was saying, well, this website is mine." And he's saying, I said, "But do you own it?" And when we done a little further investigation, it was the guy who we had done previous work with, who then says, "Oh, well, look, so there was a load of, I'm not going to get into details, but let's just say, if he had owned it himself, he would have never had the problem." So that's why, even when I'm designing websites, and I'm sure you're the same, is I will always say to the person, here's the company that I use, this is the hosting that I use, that if you want to go and buy the domain yourself, so it's registered. And I always tell them, and the reason I'm saying to you to buy it is because if in a year's time we're not working together, it means you don't have any problems. You own the website, you have the logins, and that's it's the fundamental thing. It's like your own business. Like, you know what I mean? It's like your own car. Like, you can rent a car, but it's never going to be yours. Whereas if you buy it, well, it will be. So I think going down that road, and I think that's very, very important for people to understand that, buy the domain. There's so many different I suppose domain where you can buy your domain.
Well, I think this is the kind of bit that kicks the problem off. People don't know, one, how to buy one. They think it's very complicated and various settings and what do I have to get and how do I get? Oh, you just get it for me, and they just don't want to be involved in it, and that's what causes the problem, because I'll just get someone to do it, because we know how to do it with our eyes shut. We've done it so many times. But I appreciate a business that isn't tech savvy, isn't into this world, gets a bit put off by, where do I start? So I'm actually starting to build a resource page on my website to have links to, this is where you can do all these things. So I'll have a domain name company on there, and I can point people in that direction, say, go to there, get your domain name. If you get stuck, give me a shout. I'll help you step through it, but I don't want to register it for you. You know?
I think that's the other thing. That's the other thing that I would always suggest is that if you're not sure, like if someone says to you, "Oh, right, go and buy the domain name," and you don't know, okay, well, what do I do? Ask them to help you step through the process, because it's not that hard, but it's still in all, like, you get so many different options. Oh, what do I do?
Yeah, well, there's so many deals out there. There's so many offers out there. There are good companies, bad companies, and that's another minefield I've found. I've used various companies over the years for domain names, and there are some pretty bad ones out there, and there are some very, very big companies out there that look very bright and shiny on the face of it, and they'll hook you in with a domain name for £1. And you go, oh, that's good, I'll get that £1. I can tell you, the people I know that have registered with those companies, they've been, I don't use the word conned into, but they've been persuaded at the checkout to upgrade this option and upgrade this feature, and they're upsold all these different things that you don't need.
Yeah.
And that £1 domain name suddenly gets to sort of 30, 40, 50 pounds, because they've ticked all these extra boxes. So they think, oh, perhaps I do need that. Perhaps I will, because the companies are very good at upselling once you're in, these things. And I've looked at something. Sometimes you look at it and go, what if they actually bought then? And they've bought something that's like, what is that? I've never come across. You don't need that option. Nobody needs that option, but you've paid 20 quid for it, every year on year. And so the second tip is, don't get sucked in by these attractive bargains of £1 or 99p or domain name included, because what they do is, what you don't realize, you then get to the second year, because it's an annual fee. You pay annually typically. What they don't realize is year 2, that price goes up, and some goes up through the roof, some goes up a little bit, and some doesn't go up at all. But you're trapped, because if you don't know that, you get to year 2 and suddenly you've got this, that's gone up a bit. What do? Do you move? But then you've got to work out how to move, and if you're not tech savvy, you don't know how to do it. So I think it's a case that it is a minefield out there. If you don't know what you're doing, ask people like us that I've been doing it 20 years. And I know you're doing it. We've been doing it quite a few years. And I know when you get stuck, you ask me. So between us, we can certainly point
Exactly.
people in the direction. I mean, I know if I
About,
want,
about 10 or 15 years experience, but
yeah,
but like that, it's not my area of expertise. Like I can do them and I do them, but at the same token, like that, when I get stuck, I first thing out, Trevor, help me. What do I do?
no,
But
I know
I do
certainly,
agree with you on that where, talking about the first year and the second year, because I've seen it like where you say, oh, it's only 29 euros for the month, or it's only 29 euros for the year. Oh, that's great. I get that. And then the next year it's 279 euros. And you go, well, how did that jump? And read the small print,
yeah, yeah,
think
yep,
about it and
yep,
look. And what I would suggest is when you are doing that, if you are going to buy a website or a domain, is look at, if they're saying it's 29 euros, and I'm only using that as a figure, look at it, what it is in year 2.
yeah,
That will very quickly tell you whether or not it's a great deal or not.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
You
And
know.
there's other traps that I know some companies out there hide certain things. If you want to
Mm,
transfer your name out of that, what they call a registrar, you go to a name. There are certain companies that registrars that actually register it. Some of those registrars, if you want to move from one to another, will allow you to do it within the
mm,
rules of the domain people that manage domain names at higher level. And some companies will go, oh yeah, you can register it, but it's £50 admin fee to transfer it. You go, what, 50 quid to transfer? It's ticking a few boxes on a screen and pressing buttons. But
mm,
they'll trap you in and charge you money to transfer out a domain name.
mm.
But you don't know that until you're stressed out trying to move something because your website's gone down. You're going, so it is nightmare. But I would say, what your knowledge you've got certainly in Ireland is you've got the .ie name for the
Yeah,
Irish businesses.
yeah.
And I know if I wanted to get an IE name for somebody, I know the first person I'd call, and that'd be you, because I think that I'm only aware of one UK company that actually registers .ie names, whereas in
Mm.
Ireland you've got numerous ones out there. And again, there's going to be good, the bad, and the not so good. So I know if I want an IE, I'd certainly be giving you a call saying, who can you recommend for the IE names?
Yeah, and I suppose there's always that debate as well. Oh, should I have a .com or a .ie, or
Yeah,
should I have a .net, or like
mm,
yourself, .live or whatever?
yeah,
And like personally, I always say, like, if it's an Irish company, I would say, yeah, look, have a .ie.
yeah,
You can buy a .com address as
mm,
well if you
yeah,
want,
yeah,
and have it redirected. But that's like a whole another
mm,
conversation totally. But at the
yeah,
same token, you can have multiples and just then to redirect them. Like
yeah,
I
yeah,
know I have Alan-Hennessy
mm,
.ie, but I
yeah,
also have the co.uk, and I also have the .com as
yeah,
well,
yeah, yeah,
and they're just redirected to
yeah,
the .ie type of thing. So like there is a way of doing it, but I think for wherever your region are, like for instance, like you're in the UK, you'd see a lot of English companies would be co.uk. And the other side of that, I think, is that what people start to come to think is like, if it's an Irish company, oh, they'll always go .ie first.
yeah,
Oh,
precisely.
they'll always
Yeah, yeah,
go compassmedia.ie.
yeah,
Whereas
yeah.
if I was in the UK, they go, oh, compassmedia.co.uk,
Yeah,
that type of
that's right.
way.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas you're just different because you like to be different. That's because you're alive. So
Yeah.
that's where to
We
throw
actually
that
have
argument
now,
out of
yeah.
the garden, really, doesn't it?
Well, the thing is now we've got the .uk names. So
Mm,
I've got website.uk, and it just confuses everybody because is that
yeah.
.co.uk? Because we were .co.uk 20 odd years. So, but the interesting point about you say if you wanted to register an Irish businesses, wanted to register a .co.uk name, you can.
Mm,
If I wanted to register an Irish business, I'd have to jump through certain loopholes
yeah.
with the Irish registrars. Say, well, are you an Irish company? Are you an Irish citizen? What's your passport number or whatever? I would
Usually
have
they'll ask you for the
precisely, yeah,
company registration number.
yeah. And I mean, a UK company, I don't think could register an Irish name.
Mm,
And that's very much the same around the world. I don't know if you want, like, I know in the IT world, like .it for Italy, it's
yeah.
really difficult to get a .it name, and all the computer companies would love .it because of that. So different countries around the world have different rules to who can and can't have a name. Some are quite relaxed and some are very stringent. You know, you got to fill in, you know, your company registration details, or if you're a person, I don't know, your passport number or your insurance number, I don't know.
Yeah,
So
it's usually
that's
the
one thing to be aware of. If you're going beyond your .com or things, just be aware you may come across, you can't have a .ie name, or you can't have a .whatever name. So, you know, it is, again, another bit of a minefield. It seems simple on the face of it. And I think people just go, oh, that was £1, that's it, done, finish that. And they don't realize they've just bought themselves a problem until later on. And it's the later on they just go, I wish I knew that in the first place. So here we're explaining what you should know in the first place.
Yeah, it's like, you know, like, and it's like where you see, you know, these particular, I'm not going to mention names. I'm sure I'll probably slip. It'll slip, but I'm going to do my best not to. But like, there is where you see there'll be, you know, this, you know, you buy this domain and you get the hosting for a year for free, and you get, you know, a website builder and stuff like that. And then when you go into the website builder, it's like, okay, there's your website builder. What can I do? I can put a picture up and I can put a bit of text on a page.
Yeah.
And they go, well, that's all I need. But then you go, then people start talking and say, well, I'd like to put this on. And I go, yeah, but you can't, because what you have to do is upgrade to that, which brings me on to this subject of hosting. And I think, you know, when you think about that, that's where people get sucked in and they go, oh, well, I can build it all on the one thing and it'll do. And you go, yeah, but you are restricted to what you can actually do. So I think this where we talk about the hosting, and that's sort of I thought I segued quite well into that there, actually.
Very well. Yeah. Well, it does lend itself because, you know, you need a domain name to start with. The domain name gives you options of what you can then do with that. Once you've got the name, what you can do with it. And the two main things you're going to do with it is, one is you're going to point part of it to a website, and one you'll point to email. So if you want alan@compassme.ie, you'll have an email system, and the domain name will have a setting to say, where's my email's going to go? And there'll be another setting to say, where's my website going to be? So you don't have to host your website with the same company as your domain name. And I generally find I use one main company for domain names, and that's all I use them for. And then I've got various hosting options depending on what I want to do, and that's how I keep it split. And it works absolutely fine. There's no problems with that. So yeah, when you get to your hosting, you've then got a whole load of choices. You think names are complicated, hosting is even more of a headache. And again, the big boys will suck you in with a good deal. Like I say, it's free, it's cheap. And I saw somebody today moaning about a company that they didn't get an answer from. They couldn't get technical support, blah, blah, blah. And I looked at this company, which I hadn't ever used and didn't know much about them. And they were charging for a hosting account $1.99 a month. And you sit there thinking, you're expecting 24/7 technical support and the hosting for £2 a month.
Yeah.
You know, wake up, realize, you know, if I phoned you up for technical support at 3 o'clock in the morning, would you expect me to be paying you £2 a month? No. So it's you kind of get what you pay for in this game, and it certainly is true with hosting.
Well, I think that's fair, and I think that's very, very true. You know, you do get what you pay for. You know.
Yeah. So they're very good at trapping you with an attractive price to get you in with their tools, because then they can upgrade you and upsell you and more and more, and you start spending more money that once you're in, you don't want to leave because it's complicated. So it is that danger. But most websites in the early days, you're going to start off as a beginner with what we call probably shared hosting. And a shared hosting platform, and what that basically means is all websites sit on a computer somewhere in the world. There's loads of computers, and the company you choose will have a whole load of computers, and there'll be server rooms you get, and your website will be on one of those computers. Now, when we say shared hosting, what it means, if you've got one of these computers that may have 50, 100, 1,000, 5,000, I don't know, websites of all different customers all running on one computer. Yeah. Now, you know, the computer you got on your desk, if you open Word and Excel on your browser, and then you do it with video editing, you do it in podcast editing, the more and more and more things you open in your computer, after a while, your computer goes, oh, I can't cope with all this.
Yeah, it slows right down and goes,
it goes slow.
You don't have to wait there because I have to go and find. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And web servers are no different. Okay, web servers are tailored to serve websites, but they're still just a computer, but they're tweaked specifically just for websites. You know, you're not going to be writing letters in Word and doing spreadsheets, but even so, they have capacity. They have a limit. They have disk space, they have memory, they're processing. So when you go shared hosting, generally, rule of thumb, the cheaper the deal, the economics base is saying that one server that company's got is going to have more and more sites on it. And it's a lottery. And I have in the early days had some shared hosting accounts I've used, and some days it would work and some days it wouldn't. It'd be good days, bad days. Some days the website wouldn't appear at all. It's kept coming up, error, resource limit exceeded, because they'd overpopulated the server. Because if you're one of, say, 1,000 websites, you have no control what the other 999 websites are doing in terms of how busy they are, how many visitors they've got, how much data they're processing. So it's a lottery, but it's cheap. And if you're not bothered about uptime, how long you have, in your downtime on your website, if it's just, I don't know, a hobby or something, you're probably not too bothered. But if you're trying to run a business, you're expecting your website to be live 24/7. That's what you expect. Now, in all reality, that's very difficult to achieve, because we know computers, you have to reboot them now and again, do updates, there's glitches, so most people say, oh, it's 99 point whatever, but you're expecting a pretty good uptime, and shared hosting won't give you that. Your luck might be in, if they've got a new server and they're selling more capacity and it's only got 200 sites on it, you'd be all right. But then they sell 200 more, and over time, and you have no choice on that, no control at all, and the companies probably won't tell you how populated that server is. Yeah. So that's your shared hosting. Me personally now, I don't offer shared hosting on any of my customers, because it's just too much of a headache. When it goes down, it's problematic, it's slow. The next step after that, which is on our WordPress theme, is dedicated WordPress hosting. Now, this is similar to shared, but what it is the servers are really, really honed to suit WordPress. So the operating system, the controls, their admin that you don't see, that the server hosting company sees, to manage it all, is dedicated for people wanting to host WordPress. Where shared hosting, you can host anything you want within, obviously, the limits of that server, but you could host different sorts of websites if you had the technology. Whereas this is like, no, this is dedicated. We know you want a WordPress website. Everything on that server is orientated to really get WordPress working, really well. So it's better, but generally they're still shared. So you still have this capacity issue. Yeah. Some people think they're good. I don't know. It's a bit of a lottery. You can pick good companies, bad companies, but unless you try them out and live with them for a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and find out how good they are, you're never going to quite know. And there's companies I've seen where some people say, oh, they're brilliant, they're fantastic. And there's other people say that they're terrible. It's just, it is a lottery. But again, it depends how critical is your website. If it's a brochure site and it goes down for 1 hour at 3 o'clock in the morning, you probably won't notice.
No.
If it's an e-commerce website and you're processing 50 orders a day at £100 an order, if it goes down, you've got a problem. Yeah. And that's where, if you're getting into, say, membership sites, e-commerce sites, or your site's getting very busy, or it's a global site which is going around the clock, your customers are around the world looking at it big time, these shared platforms probably aren't what you're going to need if you want this reliability. And that's when we step up to a thing called a VPS, which is a virtual private server. You're looking confused now. Bear with us. So what this is...
I'm sort of going, okay, I was grand with the shared, I was grand with the dedicated. The VPS.
This is a virtual private server. So what this is basically saying, I like to say, it's virtually private. It's not quite private. It's not like your own server. It's the same servers as your shared platforms. But instead of thousands of websites, they will say, we will guarantee, depending which package you buy, certain performance levels. So, say on your computer, you may say, I don't know, 32 gig of RAM on your computer, for example. They'll say, well, this server's got 32 gig of RAM and we'll guarantee you 4. So basically they will divide that server into 8 people or 8 customers, and they will give you 4 gig out of the 32. They will say the disk is so much capacity and you can have this much of it. So they'll slice that computer up, not physically, virtually. This is why it's called a virtual private server. They'll split it up and say 8 customers or whatever, 6, 8, whatever. But you will get, doesn't matter. You will know how much memory, disk space, and you'll know the processing spec of that machine. And typically it is going to be 6 or 8, 10. That's the kind of numbers it's split into. It's not in the hundreds, you know,
Mm.
it's in very small numbers. And they'll offer packages where you can have 2 gig, 4 gig, 8 gig, and obviously the price varies depending on what you want to pay for. But it means you're getting a better performance kind of guaranteed, because you know what you're going to get.
And
You know?
that of course in turn then will speed up your website as well.
Precisely. Yeah.
Because there's nothing as bad as going on a website and waiting for it to load. Now, you know, in fairness, Trevor, like maybe 10 years ago, you'd have that chicka chuk, chicka chuk, chicka chuk, and the pictures eventually all completing and whatever. You don't really get that as much now. I know you still do to a certain degree with shared hosting. And like, you look, at the end of the day, when we're talking about here, guys, is it's not trying to say you don't do this, you don't that. It's just to make you aware as to what is out there and what you can do. So once again, we're not dishing any companies, or we're not saying bad things that, you know, oh, you have to have this level or whatever. It's purely your decision, but at the same token, it's to give you the opportunity to understand what it is. And I think, you know, a shared hosting, if you're, you know, if you're, as you say, if you're not an e-commerce site, or you're not a really heavy usage for a website, if it's just like you want a presence, that may just suit you to have that particular package. But at the end of the day, if you wanted functionality and you wanted to add extras and, you know, and have it working well, definitely, you know, like I've always said it, even like when I originally developed my own Compass Media website, it was grand, it done the job. It done the job at the start. But as the business started to grow, I needed more capacity, but plus as well, I needed a better looking website. I needed a better, you know, a more informative website. So I went and I spent the extra few bob and went and spent the money on it and said, right, okay. And I now get complimented for the website, which I don't know who done it, but
well, that's the next stage after a virtual private server, which I would say anybody doing e-commerce seriously, or a membership site or something of that nature, where you're holding critical kind of data. You know, if you've got a membership list of 100 or 50 or 500 customers, you're starting to build a big asset of data there that you kind of want to perform. So, you know, it's worth having that. And we're not talking crazy numbers here. You know, you may get, say, a shared hosting package, £5 or £10 a month.
Yeah.
Upwards. Whereas a VPS could be 20, 30, £40 a month.
Yeah.
So it's not going crazy numbers. It's
not tens of thousands of dollars.
No. So, you know, once you appreciate what the technology is and where you fit, you know, if you're going to e-commerce, I'd go VPS straight away. I wouldn't mess about with shared, because you know, you can move this stuff, but it's whatever you do, it's still a bit of a headache trying to move it, make sure it all works. The next step up from VPS is then kind of a dedicated server, which literally you're renting one of those servers in a data room. You know, them racks, they have all the wires and everything. So you've now got your own server, and you get 100% the capacity of that server. You've got all the disk space, you've got better specifications with it, and you're choosing the spec of the server, if you like. You're choosing what one they got, how much memory, what processor, disk space, is going to be Windows or Linux, what's the software on it. And then generally you're getting far more control on that server. So you can, with the ability, you can install other bits and pieces on it. You can do far more with it. So it is far more powerful. Generally, I wouldn't recommend anybody to get a dedicated server unless you had the technical ability to know how to manage it, because it is a liability if you don't know what you're doing. But you do have the advantage of, you've got great control on that server. You can pretty do anything with, obviously within the terms and conditions of what you're buying it, but you're in control of that as though it's your piece of kit. And you got performance. So I now host a lot of WordPress websites on that dedicated server. And you've noticed when you're editing WordPress on your websites how quick it is to do update. You know, you literally press update, and within a second it's updated.
I would definitely say that, and I'm not. That's not any sort of plug for, you know, for any sales pitch, but it is true. I have noticed, because there's been times when I've been on other ones I've gone that I would be working on. I goes, oh my god, I can nearly go make a cup of tea and come back, and still haven't changed. Whereas with yourself, it's more or less instant. It's within seconds.
And that is a difference. I mean, I've worked on some other people's websites on very old hosting packages, and you go and type something, you press update, and you see the little wheel spinning around.
Yeah.
And it spins around. They say it spins around. You think, oh, come on. Now, when you do a lot of updates, a lot of work, it's like it may only be 10 seconds, but 10 seconds seems an age when you're trying to just update a page. But
then you get the other frustration of that, and I'm sure you've done it, and I know I've done it. Is I say, oh, the bloody thing's after crashing, and you go and you try and suddenly, all of a sudden, you lost what you just tried to save. So that's I think
so there is a rate. So basically, what was saying, there's a range of performance in a range of prices. I mean, I offer my dedicated server for WordPress people at the lower end because I share it, but I don't share it with thousands, But then I haven't got a 24/7 call center of hundreds of staff that can answer your question all the time. But it's horses for courses. So I think the thing is, be very careful before you decide what to jump in with, because there's traps on hosting as well. And like with the domain names, there's one company I saw. Well, I see them every 2 minutes on YouTube when I'm watching videos. Adverts keep popping up all the time in this company for hosting, and it's like, get online for $1.99. You think, oh right, okay, $1.99. And I thought, well, I'll have a look, see what their price is. I didn't need it, but I thought I'd just market research, and I looked. For a VPS, just one example, for a VPS server, year one would cost you £45 per month. Okay. And to be honest, that's not a bad price. £45 for the spec they were offering. That's a good machine. It's not too bad, fair enough. I then looked year two to see what the second year price was. And year two price was £130 per month.
Huge jump. Huge.
And you sort of think, the thing is with these VPSs dedicators, there is a bit of setting up that you need to work out how to do. It's not, for your beginners. And if you've got one of those and you just about managed to get it working and you're happy with it, you get to the sort of year two and you're suddenly going up to £130 per month and 45, over £100 more per month. And it's like, I can't afford that. I need to move. Well, yeah, but you've got emails on there, you've got websites on there, WordPress, you've got backups on there, you've got lots of stuff in there. It's like, oh, right, how do I move all this? Just, and you just go, oh, it's too much of a headache. I'll do it next week. I'll do it next week. I'll do it next month. And you're trapped. And a lot of the ones I look at, there's a lot of these tricks going on that they'll get you in with a good deal to get you in. And then there's always some catch that year two is twice the price or more expensive, or there's hidden extras. The other thing we need to talk about in hosting, one little thing, is the SSL certificates.
Oh, yeah.
Your security, which is sort of a thing you need nowadays. And so many of them sort of hide their SSL certificate bit somewhere. They offer a free deal, free SSL year one. You think, well, that's good, got my free SSL, brilliant. Year two, I've seen people charge £100 a year for an SSL certificate for year two. So that's another extra cost that you didn't know when you bought it. You just saw free. Oh, that's good, but it's not free, and it's only free for one certificate. So if you get 3 or 4 websites, year two, if you've got 4 websites, that's 4 times 100. That's £400 a year for SSL.
A huge amount of money, isn't it? When you add it all up.
Do you know what I charge for SSL?
What?
Free.
Okay. Well, there you go, guys.
So that's the difference. You get trapped into that situation, and you got this server, and suddenly you're faced with all this cost of what do I do? So you really got to do your research carefully. You might be thinking, oh, $199, that's great, that's a good start, but you could be falling into this trap of extra costs, or this extra, that extra. I know you had a client recently with a good deal on a website with a web builder paid package. It wasn't WordPress, was it? But it was something very similar. And if you want to add a second page, you have to upgrade. If you want to do this, you have to upgrade. If you want to upload video to your website, that's an upgrade and an upgrade and an upgrade. And then suddenly all these upgrades take this $199 package to, I don't know.
Oh yeah, it was big money. Like, it ended up being something like, I think it was 200 or 300 euros at the end of the day. Like, to just, you're going, what? Am I going for a website? Like,
yeah,
I'm not going to pay that just for hosting. Like, okay, yeah, if it's, there's not a hope in hell that I'm going to upgrade to something that's 300 or 400 euros when I know I can go to even the types yourself, and it'll be not as much as that. So, like, so I think it's very important that people do do
Yeah.
the research. And I think the key takeaways here tonight is to go and purchase your own domain name, so your
Yep.
own website address. So if it's www.mywebsite.ie, buy
Mm.
it yourself, so
Yep.
you own it. Then what you can do is you can give it to your web designer and say, here's the login details for
Mm.
this, and they have it. And then if, for instance, it comes to an end of a contract or you have a falling out, all you have to do is go in and change your password, and it
Mm.
stops them from getting into it again.
Yep.
So that's one thing. So that, I think, is the domains. So
Mm.
buy your domain
Yep. Yep.
yourself. And then with your hosting is look at the hosting packages, look at what year one is, look at what year two is, pick the one that suits the capacity that you're going to need for your website, and go with that. And like that again, give that to your web designer, or if you're going to do it yourself, well and good. You'll have an idea around it. But
Mm.
if you do get stuck, you know that there's people out there
Mm.
like myself or like Trevor who will
Yeah.
be only too willing to give you a dig out and give you a hand out,
Yeah.
even give you some advice. And
Yeah.
that's, I think, the more important here is
Mm.
that people are always looking for advice. And
Mm.
okay, advice does charge to a certain degree, but if it's a quick thing, the
Yeah.
don't hesitate, get in contact with us. We're always happy to help you. But
Yeah, I mean, the takeaway for me is definitely, I have been doing it 20 years, and I could tell you some terrible tales people have got themselves into, and it kind of breaks my heart going through this, trying to help these people out, that their business is messed up for months because their website's down, or their hosting's changed, or their domain name. And I've had someone who, my friend registered my domain name, and their friend has suddenly gone off to live in Spain and doesn't do websites anymore, and doesn't answer the phone, and doesn't answer emails, yet
yeah,
they own the name. And you're in the UK with your name that you think's your name, and the domain name's actually in their personal name. It's like Alan Hennessy sort of thing, .ie. But the owner of it legally had retired to Spain and didn't have any communication. They wouldn't reply to emails, wouldn't answer the phone. And it took us 6 months of difficulty battling through the system to get that name back to the rightful owner, to get it hosted again. And you had 6 months of no blog. It was a big blogging site with no blog, So I would rather spend 10 minutes on the phone or a quick email saying, I suggest you do X, Y, and Z, because I know that will save you so many headaches 5 years, 10 years down the line, than coming to me 10 years down the line saying, I got a problem, Trevor. I need to move this hosting and I can't get the login and I don't know what's happened. And how many times I said to people, if only you'd have called me 10 years ago, we could have saved all this time and trouble. So I'm quite happy to give those nudges. I'm not going to spend 3 hours on a call consultation for free, but if it's just a quick email or a quick 10 minutes,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
I'd rather do that and save all that heartache later on.
And that's one of the purposes why I suppose, at the end of the day, is where we started up just doing this exploring WordPress, because like that, we were getting a lot of, like, we were seeing it online, we were seeing the stuff that was going on. You go, someone needs to talk about this and explain this in a little bit more detail. And that's one of the reasons why we set up this exploring WordPress series. So so hopefully you are getting some valuable information from this. And the beauty of it is I had someone today only on LinkedIn when I put out the post saying that we were going to be live tonight, and he says, where can I watch the previous ones? And we said, well, look, they're on both our Facebook pages, on both of our YouTube channels, so you can find them. You can go back and watch the replays. They're all there. And if you have any questions, please do get in contact. You don't have to just put them here tonight. You can, if you have something that's happened a couple of days back, or you want to send us a message in a couple of days when you're watching the replay of this, please do so. We're always happy to answer them. So I think that's where we're going to shoot off tonight, because we have done just under 40 minutes. So I think we've explained domains and hosting, and next week I don't know what we're going to be talking about. I'm gonna leave it to you this time, because I always pick the subjects next week, so we'll have to look at, I don't know.
We're gonna delve back into WordPress, and we're gonna look at some of the sort of security plugins and security issues you need to think about for getting your site sort of protected before you get too much information into it.
Brilliant. Brilliant. I
Yep.
look forward to that. So, guys, if you have, if you do want to reach out and connect with me, you can find me at compassmedia.ie. You can follow me across all the social media platforms. And if you just Google Alan Hennessy, you'll find us. We also have a podcast called the Curious Fire Podcast with myself and Trevor, where we talk about a lot of curious
Curious
topics.
things. Yeah.
And then you also, I have the Social Media Talks podcast, where we interview business or leading social and digital marketers from around the world. And Trevor is the only guest to have guested on the program 3 times. So he is the current leading expert.
I'm looking for my plaque or my certificate. I don't know.
Yeah, again, I'm gonna get to the plaque as well. So yeah. So Trevor, how can people reach out and connect with you?
Yeah, if they want to find me, the easiest place is to go to my website, which is digitalalchemist.live, and on there on the contact page, you'll find contact details and all the regular social media platforms where I'm pretty active most days. So yeah, always send me a direct message on a platform or contact me via my website, digitalalchemist.live.
Brilliant stuff. So, guys, until next week at the same time, Tuesday night, 8 o'clock, GMT. We have to remember that GMT. I have to figure out, actually, what is it, Eastern? Hold on. Just let me just check and see. Eastern is, we are looking at 8 o'clock. It is 3 p.m. 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as well. So if you're around, so you can watch us then. All right.
Yep.
Until next week, guys, have a great week. And we should talk to you soon. As I always say, be social. Trevor.
Be creative.
Yay. Love it. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.